So over the summer, I made the switch. I sold my MacBook Pro against my better judgment, and I bought a gaming laptop. I even upgraded the RAM to a beefy 40 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM just to justify the expense. And I got this gaming laptop, and it was a really interesting decision. Now I know the title of this video, worst decision I've ever made, and I wouldn't necessarily categorize it as that. I've made some pretty bad decisions in my life, but I certainly would call it a mistake, and I would urge you to listen to my reasons why and to maybe consider them for yourself. Now some of these certainly won't apply to you, and maybe a gaming laptop is the answer for your workflow and for your needs. But in this video, I'm going to go over what led up to me getting a gaming laptop, what were my reasons why, how the situation looks right now, and thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel, by the way. But now that it's finals week right now, I have plenty of time to film and make YouTube videos, so that's exactly what I'm doing instead of studying. Be sure to like and subscribe if this is your first time at my channel, and let's get started. My reasoning for getting a gaming laptop is, let me provide some context. During the school year of 2019, I was doing my video editing, doing my schoolwork, my classes, even some light gaming. I played Fortnite with the buddies back then. I don't play it anymore. On a 15-inch MacBook Pro. And you might think to yourself, well, that's a pretty capable laptop. Not as good as a 16-inch, sure, but certainly powerful enough to handle some light work in Premiere Pro, pretty heavy tasks in Final Cut Pro because of optimization. But the catch was it was the 2012 model. And I don't know who remembers 2012 all that well, but when it came to MacBooks, Apple certainly did nothing notable, and the device kind of sucked. So I went, hey, I need a new machine. I need something better to edit that can handle Premiere Pro, because I liked some of the tools in Premiere better than Final Cut. I certainly liked some of the tools in Final Cut better than Premiere, but at the time I saw more benefit to switching than to staying. Again, at the time, MacBooks were unjustifiably expensive, and I just really couldn't afford one of those, so I decided to jump ship, switch into Windows, and I started with the Dell XPS 15. Not a gaming laptop, but yes, I know, just wait. I bought it with 8 gigs of RAM. The seller, I bought it used. The seller said that it had 16, straight up lied to me. And then, when I tried to user upgrade it, I went to the back panel, one of the screws, I got all of them out except one, was stripped to hell, and I tried 6 different methods of trying to get it out. I just could not. So I figured that it wasn't worth the hassle, because I do need more RAM than 8 gigabytes to actually edit 4K video. So I got rid of the device, I flipped it, and then I got the Razer Blade 15 instead, and then I ended up upgrading the RAM to 40 gigs. And through the period that it served me for, it was a blessing. When I had the MacBook, I wasn't nearly close to where I am currently when it comes to video editing expertise, videography techniques, and just overall workflow productivity and efficiency. So back then, it was okay that I had that machine because I wasn't doing all the things that I'm doing now. I'm very glad that I didn't stick with Apple then, and I'm glad that I had a more powerful machine like the Razer Blade 15 to handle my everyday tasks. Given that, there are a lot of downsides to owning that machine as well. First off being battery life, and you really have to consider, if you yourself are looking to buy a gaming laptop as a videographer, what your use purposes are for it. Are you going to be going to coffee shops? Are you going to be editing on the go, in a plane, in a car, at a friend's house where all the outlets happen to be taken up? Basically, where are you going to be using this thing? If you're doing the run and gun approach to editing and you're not coming home, sitting down at a desk like mine, plugging it up to a monitor, you might want to reconsider. Partially because, one, Windows laptops punish you in performance for not being plugged in to power. It's just straight up how it is. Sure, you can tweak settings, you can adjust things, but you will not be able to do the things at the speed that you could plugged in on battery power with a Windows laptop. MacBooks don't have that problem. I suppose iMacs don't have the problem either because you can't really unplug them. However, when it also comes to battery life, because sure, not having full power is one thing. You can maybe just skip rendering, save that for later when you get home. But when it comes to battery life, on a good day, the Razer Blade 15 might give me 4 hours of battery if I'm not doing any video editing. If I'm working in Premiere, working in After Effects, I can expect an hour tops of decent performance, and then it's just dead. Spoiler alert, I did get a new laptop. It is right here, the M1 MacBook Pro. And I actually got it for only the price of the MacBook Air. I got it for $1,000, but I digress. The second thing that I would pose as being important when it comes to buying a gaming laptop, or not buying a gaming laptop, skipping it altogether, would be gaming. What's your take on gaming? That's my question for you. Do you enjoy playing team-based games with your friends? Do you enjoy sitting alone playing story-based games, just single players? Do you have an addictive personality like me? And sometimes find yourself playing games in places and at times where you shouldn't be? All important questions to answer for yourself when considering buying a gaming laptop. I didn't even think of these because I didn't think it would be a problem at all. But for me, having the convenience of being able to not only do editing and gaming on the same machine, but also having a blender where you do your schoolwork, your editing, your professional work, and your recreational gaming social life, because I can't hang out with friends anymore because of COVID. So that's basically how I hang out with friends. Mixing all three of those very distinctly cut off parts of life, having an amalgamation of all three of those things in one device, I would argue was pretty bad for me. Time management, motivation, self-discipline, procrastination, a lot of things were really difficult just because of convenience, just because that everything was packed into one. And I know a lot of device manufacturers, this is their goal, to make everything convenient, to jam-pack everything into one so that you don't have to go other places to get different things for different purposes. But I would argue that for me, that really sucks, and that wasn't what I wanted at all. Previously, the conversation was about, do you want gaming performance and consequently great editing performance / GPU, CPU, stuff like that, or do you want streamlined workflow, productivity device, can't really edit videos that well, which was, at that time, Apple. But now the conversation has really shifted, hence why, yes, I do regret having the Razer Blade 15 as my daily driver device, but given the fact that at the time, there were no M1 MacBooks, I wouldn't necessarily say I regret the decision because there were no better alternatives really for me. So obviously, as you can see, I have a PS5 behind me, so I've made a decision to cut the limb of gaming off of the body of workflow and productivity and professional use. So now I've separated my devices. I got my MacBook Pro I can take on the go, and then when I come home, I can play the PlayStation 5. And some of you might argue that, well, if your concern was to separate tasks, why wouldn't you just externally store your games on an SSD, leave it at home, and then you're good to go? I did exactly that after I realized that it was a life problem that was getting in the way of actual things, and so I did that. And it did help because I wasn't able to play games anymore, and I just thought to myself, like, okay, well, if I'm only using this device for editing and for schoolwork and productivity, web searching, stuff like that, things that the Mac side really does kind of excel at, what am I doing wasting my time with a gaming laptop when I can just, instead of keeping my SSD at home, which could actually prove to be valuable to have with me so that I can have more SSDs and more storage to edit projects on, why don't I just have a PlayStation at home and completely just switch? Because if you haven't heard, the M1 MacBooks and the M1 machine and the M1 iMac are some stellar performers and appear to be very promising for the future of not only like video editing, but just the computer industry, period. So I'm very excited to do some tests, show you guys my real world review of the M1 MacBook Pro, how I like it, what things are working for me, what things aren't. I love the device. I've never had, like, I want to call it a next-gen Apple laptop. I've always had the 2015 and prior MacBooks that were just a little bit more dinky and less advanced looking. So I am loving the new design. I'm loving the touch bar. But I'm excited to give you guys some more content, some more M1 content and some EOS R6 content, hopefully in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.